Yes, hi there, Victor Frost speaking, anarchist artist. Today, I would like to touch upon the subject of Christian anarchists. Christian anarchists. There is a group of people, a cadre of people, who have assembled and organized and discuss and converse with each other and are going about spreading the message of Jesus Christ and anarchy. There's a whole motley crew of different philosophical groups to which people can assign themselves. And if I were to place a label on myself, I know a lot of people are adverse to being labeled as something. It's they feel like they're being pigeonholed. But for the purpose of epistemological economy, so to speak, to pinpoint where I would come from in my philosophy, I think it's quite okay to designate yourself as a Buddhist or a Christian or an atheist, an agnostic, or whatever. It kind of immediately encapsulates where your thought processes and philosophical allegiance resides. So you do have a Christian anarchist, and that's what I want to touch on today. It's more or less along the lines of two different philosophical categories. Christian and anarchism that I want to touch on. Kind of meshing those together, we have to ask if there's any consistency, if there's a logical contradiction in such a designation. You could very well say that you're a vegetarian anarchist. They're not the same, or you ascribe to an objective basis of morality. You're an objectivist anarchist, not I mean the small O, not the big O Ayn Rand objectivist, but small O objectivist and anarchists. So you could very well say that without necessarily lapsing into any kind of epistemological contradiction or anything like that, or conceptual contradiction. So we have to look at the question of Christian anarchists. Now, just to let you know up front, I am an atheist. I do not ascribe to any supernatural belief in God and or a supernatural God. Now, why I think that the Christians, this cadre of Christian anarchists, are anarchists is because they are. I've heard a criticism leveled against them in the sense that, they blame the death of Christ, upon the state. The state killed Christ. Therefore, that's a bad thing. Boo hiss state for killing our Lord Jesus Christ. And then I think that's a little bit too narrow, maybe a little dab of cynicism there, but I would say that much larger, a larger issue is that the state is a secular authority, and that is what basically rubs the Christian anarchists the wrong way. Is that it might be the state is all the power and allegiance and a moral authority comes from the state, and that rubs the Christian anarchists the wrong way. It's a form of idolatry, I think, as they would perceive it. So therefore, boo hiss, we can't have that because it distracts from the authority of Jesus Christ or God. Now, the issue that I would take with this whole approach is that anarchism, basically, getting into the gist, the fiber of the word, is no rulers. You can have rulers. You can have certain rules enforced. It could be through ostracism, contractual. There can be a division of force and or of rule enforcement, and the whole issue is simply is having this monolithic, singular, exclusive force which is government, that the anarchists would take issue with, not the issue of rules per se. So in that sense, yes, rules are fine. Rules are fine to the anarchists. That leads into a whole other separate discussion. But I'm just trying to make the point that the core here is no rulers, in the sense of a monolithic, exclusive category of human beings who have been allotted the grand magical title of government, and they get to call all the shots. They could be tyrannical, despotic, idiotic rules. Too bad, we are the authority. You are to do as we say. So that's the problem here. Now, so the Christian anarchists fail to get to the gist of the matter of no rulers. So let's look at the the idea of God. When I was a very young boy, when I've ever heard passages from the Bible about how God, I mean the Old Testament, the New Testament of God is nothing. It's unbelievable. I mean, he's a cosmic monster who's throwing his weight around. He's committing all types of moral atrocities. He's killing left, right, and center. And I've always thought that that's very strange. And like, why is it that God is doing all those things? I mean, I thought this was an ethical being. I thought this was the source of morality. The very source of morality is supposed to emanate from God. Without God's authority, all is permitted, as it was said. So therefore, there is a God to give objectivity and to give moral compass to human beings and their conduct, and all this comes from God, as the supernatural being. And then I was quickly informed that, well, since God is the author, he gets to call the shots. Basically, that's the idea. There is that the God itself is exempt from the rules that he would impose. And you can see how this is very similar to government. They decree laws, but they don't necessarily have to abide by them. They are above the laws that they decree. Not in the sense of that they go around rumshuck and breaking every law that's imposed, but by the very nature of imposing those laws, they sever the laws that they do impose. For example, taxation. I mean, if you're going to make a rule in a law that no, you can't steal from each other, well, taxation is theft. So in order to implement that the law, they're severing it right at the moment that they're trying to enforce it. So I don't mean that a politician can break into your home and steal your stuff and then say, well, I'm above the law. But you get the point. But God is the Almighty Commander, and he can create laws, break them, sever them, impose them. He can do what he's pleased because he's God, just like the government is the government. So enough said. That's the end of it. That's the end of the presentation as far as morality is concerned, because I said so. So that's the whole thing there. But this flies in the face of anarchism, I think, because if we're talking about no monolithic, singular, overpowering imposer of morality and laws, sorry, I mean, but this whole God thing flies in the face of that. Now, it comes down to this, basically, is that Christians replacing God, or replacing the state with God, they just have another authority, another supernatural abstract authority. Instead of the government, you have God. So it's just a substitution of one word for another. Now, what is the existential consequences of such a thing? I mean, basically we have to get down to the fact that there is no God. Okay, I know that's a whole separate argument right there, but just go with me in this regard, that there is no tangible, concrete God. I mean, it's not like in the same sense as the government. If government imposes its authority, empirically, tangibly, you know it. It's happening in your life. It's physical, it's real. But if God imposing his authority, well, where is that? Where's his God tumbling into an empirical reality, pointing his finger and making commandments. So this is where you have subjectivism. God exists only insofar as it's entertained as an idea in the mind of those people who believe such a thing. So it reduces morality to a kind of gooey subjectivism. You plaster onto this being God whatever you feel it should be like. It could be loving, and you can have pictures of Christ by the lake and patting little sheep, and it's just all very cutesy-wootsy, the type of thing that you would find in Bible school. Or you could have a very vengeful, vindictive, authoritarian God. I mean, it all depends upon the psychology of the person who's entertaining the idea. So that's how it becomes very subjective and relativistic in that sense. So, or you have where that if that doesn't suit you too well, you need some kind of concrete form of this God authority imposing his will and rules. You look to secular authorities who claim or self-proclaim to have a more direct pipeline to the Almighty Being. So then you become subjugated to an earthly authority, and then there you have theocracies, there you have the priesthood. So that doesn't really sound anarchistic to me. It just sounds like more authority being placed on this world that's drowning into self-appointed authorities and subjugation, slavery, and all embellished and brought into existence by the moral and intellectual sanctions that we give these powers. That's the lifeblood of these powers. So that is the contention that I would make to Christian anarchists, is that they really are not helping the case, fighting the case, and making the case, I'm sorry to say, for liberty. So, and just to make a final point too, is that if God is the creator of all of us, somebody would say that, well, he gave us free will. Yeah, well, it's all very well and easy to say that, but if the Bible is to be any kind of reliable source as having a pinpoint idea of what this God is all about, and is the referenced by Christians, by and large, of course, the Bible is, well, there it is. It's all in black and white as to what this being is all about. If God decides that it's okay to kill, if there's a reason for it, and he does it, that you can't argue with that, because he is the author of everything. So if you create something, you have dominion over it. It's just kind of like in the sense of property rights. If you make something, if you build a house on a strip of land, you could say that that's your property because it came from you. It came from your work. Came from your labor. It's an extension of you. This gets into the whole issue of property rights. So the same thing could be said of God, is that he made you, therefore he can do as he wished with you. He could drown you out in a flood. He can expel you from the Garden of Eden. He can create a world apocalypse. He can create floods. He can do whatever he wants because he's God. So basically that's my beef, and that's where you have the issue of God and governments, and it's no wonder, it's no accident that God and or religion and the state have been bedmates for eons. Thank you for listening. Victor Pross, anarchist, artist, signing out. Pop goes the culture.